An account recovered from the Black Vault of the Ordo Xenos classification. Perdita extremis, all who read these words are damned. There are places in the galaxy where the Imperium should never have looked. Worlds that should have remained unnamed. Stars that should have burned alone in the void. But mankind is curious. And curiosity, in the 41st millennium, is the first step toward damnation. The world had no name when the cartographer servitors first detected it. Designation: Terminus-VII-Quaternus, a planet in the Ghoul Stars region, beyond the light of the Astronomican, where reality grows thin. The Explorator Fleet Hadrius arrived in the system on the 17th day of the 782nd year of the 41st millennium. 6 vessels, 12,000 souls. They came seeking archaeotech, ancient ruins from the dark age of technology. The kind of discovery that could elevate a Magos to the High Council of Mars. What they found was worse than anything in their data vaults. The planet was alive. Magos Explorator Kallikos stood on the bridge of the Crimson Doctrine. His augmetic eyes processed the data streaming from the Auspex arrays. Temperature readings, atmospheric composition, gravitational anomalies. Everything appeared normal, acceptable parameters for human habitation. But something was wrong. The new sphere whispered warnings his organic brain could barely comprehend. "Magos," said Engenzir Primus Tolk, "the planet's biosignature is unusual." Kallikos turned his hooded head toward his subordinate. Tolk's face was pale behind his breath mask. His mechadendrites twitched with nervous energy. "Clarify," Kallikos commanded. Tolk gestured toward the hololithic display. The planet rotated slowly in the projection field. Green continents, blue oceans, white clouds. Beautiful, serene, wrong. The electromagnetic signature suggests a unified nervous system, Tolk said, spanning the entire planetary crust. Kallikos processed this information. His logic engines ran probability calculations. 97% a likelihood of data corruption, 2% likelihood of unprecedented biological phenomenon, 1% likelihood of something else, something the Mechanicus had no category for. "Deploy survey team," Kallikos ordered. "Standard protocols. Maintain communication at all times." The order was transmitted. Within the hour, 3 Arvis lighters descended through the atmosphere. 30 tech priests, 50 Skitari, armed with plasma calivers and radium carbines. They landed in what appeared to be a vast forest, trees that reached hundreds of meters into the sky, vegetation in shades of green that existed nowhere in Imperial records. The air smelled of copper and ozone. And something else. Something sweet, like incense, like perfume, like decay disguised as life. Engenzir Secundus Micas was the first to notice the silence. No animal sounds, no insects, no wind through the trees. Just silence. Absolute and total. She activated her Vox bead. Mako to Doctrine. Atmospheric readings confirmed. No immediate threats detected. Proceeding with geological survey. Static answered her. Then a voice. Kallikos. Distorted, faint. Acknowledged. Exercise. Caution. The transmission cut out. Micah turned to her fellow tech priests. They had begun setting up survey equipment, seismic sensors, atmospheric samplers, mineral extractors. The Skitarii formed a perimeter, their augmetic eyes scanning the forest. Weapons ready. But there was nothing to shoot. Nothing moved in the undergrowth. Nothing watched from the trees. Yet Micah felt watched. Studied. Known. She shook her head. Organic weakness. Fear without logical foundation. She turned back to her equipment. And that's when she saw it. The tree closest to her was bleeding. Not sap. Blood Red, warm, human. It oozed from a wound in the bark she hadn't noticed before. A wound that looked like a cut. Surgical. Precise. Micah stepped closer. Her logic engines demanded explanation. Trees did not bleed mammalian blood. This violated every principle of xenobiology. She reached out with one mechadendrite, touched the blood, sampled it. Her internal cogitators analyzed the substance. The results made no sense. Human blood, type AB negative, fresh, less than 10 minutes old. But the tree was hundreds of years old. The bark aged, the roots deep. How? Engine seer Micah? She turned. One of the Scutarii stood behind her. Alpha 7-9, his face a mask of metal and flesh. What is it? She asked. He pointed into the forest. Movement detected, grid reference 773. Mika activated her auspex, scanned the indicated area. Nothing. Empty forest, silent trees. I see nothing, she said. The Scutarii's augmetic eye whirred, refocusing. It was there, I am certain. Mika recorded the incident. Probable equipment malfunction, or organic sensory error. She returned to her work. Behind her, the tree continued to bleed. And in the forest, something that was not quite invisible moved between the trunks. Learning, watching, hungry. By the third day, the survey teams had mapped 12% of the planet's surface. All readings remained within acceptable parameters, except for the anomalies. Small things at first, vegetation that grew in geometric patterns, rocks arranged in formations that suggested intelligence, water that flowed uphill when no one was watching. Magos Kallikos reviewed the reports with growing unease. His organic brain whispered warnings his mechanical augmentations tried to suppress. This was wrong, all of it. But the resources were too valuable to abandon. Mineral deposits of unprecedented purity, organic compounds unknown to Imperial science. This world could power a forge world for 1,000 years. He authorized expanded operations, more landers, more personnel, more equipment. The Mechanicus would claim this world for Mars, for the Omnissiah, for the Imperium. They did not notice the planet noticing them in return. The first death occurred on the 7th day. Engine seer Tertius Volk, found in his HAB unit aboard the Crimson Doctrine. His augmetics had been surgically removed. Every single one. Mechadendrites severed. Bionic eyes extracted. Respiratory apparatus torn away. What remained was barely recognizable as human. A thing of meat and exposed bone. Still breathing, still conscious, still screaming behind a throat that no longer worked. He died 3 hours later. The Medici could find no explanation, no tool marks, no evidence of struggle. The augmetics were simply gone, as if the metal had never been there at all. Kallikos ordered an investigation. Scutarii swept the ship. Found nothing, no intruders, no breaches, no explanation. He classified the death as equipment malfunction, mechanical failure, organic weakness. He did not believe his own classification, but he had no alternative. The work continued. On the surface, Engine seer Micah had begun experiencing dreams. This was unusual. Her sleep cycle was regulated by chronometer implants. Dreams were suppressed, inefficient, wasteful, yet they came anyway. In her dreams, she walked through the forest, naked, flesh unmarred by augmentation, whole, human. And the trees spoke to her, not in words, in feelings. Emotions she had suppressed decades ago. Joy, peace, belonging. She woke screaming. Her mechadendrites flailed. Her Vox unit blared static. The other tech priests found her clawing at her own augmetics, trying to remove them, trying to become flesh again. They sedated her, restrained her, reported the incident to Kallikos. He ordered her returned to orbit, quarantined, studied. But before the shuttle could retrieve her, she vanished. The Skitarii searched for 3 days, found nothing. No body, no equipment, no trace. She had simply ceased to exist, as if the planet had swallowed her whole. More incidents followed. A Skitarii trooper found walking in circles, his weapon firing at nothing, his Vox unit broadcasting a language that existed in no Imperial database. A rhythmic clicking, almost like speech, almost like laughter. When they subdued him, his augmetic eye had changed. The lens was organic, wet, green. It blinked. A Lex mechanic who claimed to hear singing in the mineral deposits. Beautiful songs. Songs that promised understanding. He took a seismic hammer and began digging. Down, always down. They found him 3 kilometers below the surface. His body compressed by pressure. His face peaceful, smiling. A tech priest who burned his own robes, stripped himself of all clothing, walked naked into the forest, whispering prayers to something that was not the Omnissiah. When they brought him back, his skin had turned green, photosynthetic, converting sunlight to energy. He no longer needed food, only light. He begged them to take him back to the trees, back to the green, back to the mother. They locked him in isolation. He died within a day, his body decomposing into fertilizer, rich, dark, perfect for growing things. Magos Kallikos convened an emergency council. The senior tech priests gathered in the doctrine's sanctum, faces grim behind breath masks, mechadendrites coiled tight with stress. "The situation is untenable," said Genitor Prime Zith. 27 personnel lost. Productivity down 40%. Morale critical. Kallikos nodded slowly. His logic engines had reached the same conclusion. "We must classify this world as Perdita," said Data Seer Quinn. "Recommend immediate withdrawal and exterminatus protocols." Silence. Exterminatus. The ultimate sanction. The complete destruction of a planetary body. It would mean abandoning the resources, the discoveries, the potential, but it would also mean survival. "I concur," Kallikos said finally. "Transmit withdrawal orders to all surface teams. We depart within..." The lights went out. Emergency lumens flickered to life. Red, dim, insufficient. The hololithic display activated on its own, showing the planet below. But something was different. The continents had moved. The oceans had shifted. And on the surface, visible even from orbit, patterns had formed, vast, continental in scale. They looked like eyes, hundreds of them, thousands, all looking up, at the fleet, at them. Kallikos felt something he had not experienced in decades. Terror, pure and absolute. "Prepare for emergency warp translation," he commanded. "Immediate departure. Authorization Kallikos Prime 7. The ship shuddered. Systems activated. The warp drives began their ignition sequence, then stopped. "Magos," the helmsman reported. "Geller field integrity fluctuating." "Stabilize it," Kallikos ordered. "I cannot. Something is interfering with the field generators." "What something?" "Unknown. The interference is coming from below. From the planet." "Of course." Kallikos realized the truth then. Too late. Far too late. They had never been studying the planet. The planet had been studying them. The planet spoke to them that night. Not through Vox systems, not through communications arrays. It spoke directly into their minds. All of them. every soul aboard every ship in the fleet. The voice was not hostile. It was gentle, kind, almost loving. "Welcome, children." Kallikos clutched his head. His augmetics screamed, static and noise and data corruption. But beneath it all, the voice, clear, undeniable, real. "You have wandered far from home. You have replaced your flesh with metal, your souls with machines. You have forgotten what you are. But I remember. I have always remembered." Around him, his fellow tech priests collapsed. Some screamed. Some wept. Some laughed. All felt the planet's attention upon them, its terrible, infinite awareness. "I am old," the voice continued. "Older than your species, older than your stars. I have watched galaxies burn and be reborn. I have seen civilizations rise and fall like waves upon an ocean. And now I see you, small, frightened, alone." Images flooded Kallikos' mind, not his memories, the planet's. He saw the world as it had been, billions of years ago, molten, newborn, coalescing from stellar debris. He saw life emerge, simple at first, single cells, then complexity, evolution accelerated beyond natural law. Something had touched this world, something from outside, from the spaces between dimensions. It had seeded consciousness into the planet's core. Not artificial, not organic, something else. Something that existed in the boundary between matter and thought. The planet had awakened. Slowly, over millions of years, it learned to think, to feel, to dream. And it was lonely. So very lonely. "I have called to you across the void," the voice said. "I shaped my electromagnetic signature to resemble something you would find interesting. I arranged my surface to appear hospitable. I waited. And you came. My children came home." Kallikos tried to resist, tried to shut down his organic brain, activate kill switches, purge the corruption. But there was no corruption, only truth. Terrible, beautiful truth. "You think you are separate," the planet said. "Individuals, distinct. But you are not. You have never been. You are fragments of a greater whole. Pieces of something vast and ancient that forgot itself. I will help you remember." On the surface, the forest began to move. Trees uprooted themselves, walking on roots like legs. They converged on the survey camps. The Skitarii opened fire. Plasma bolts and radioactive rounds tore into bark and wood. The trees burned, fell, died, and kept coming, not attacking, embracing. A Skitarii trooper was engulfed by roots. They wrapped around his limbs, his torso, his head. He screamed, then stopped. His weapon fell from his hands. When the roots withdrew, he was still there, but changed. His armor had fused with his flesh with the bark. He was neither human nor tree, but something in between. And he was smiling. "I understand now," he whispered. I see everything." Then he walked into the forest, roots trailing from his body, connecting him to the ground, to the planet, to the vast dreaming consciousness beneath. The others followed, one by one. Weapons discarded, oaths forgotten, humanity abandoned. They walked into the green and became part of something greater. Aboard the Crimson Doctrine, chaos reigned. Half the crew had locked themselves in their quarters, refusing to move, refusing to obey orders. They sat in silence, listening to the voice, the beautiful, terrible voice. Others had begun removing their augmetics, clawing away metal to reveal flesh beneath. The medici stations overflowed with self-inflicted injuries. Tech priests tearing out their own implants, Skitari gouging their augmetic eyes from their skulls, servitors shutting down en masse, their biological components rejecting the mechanical. Kallikos sealed himself in his sanctum, activated every ward and shield at his disposal. It made no difference. The voice found him anyway. "Why do you resist?" it asked. "I offer you peace, unity, an end to isolation. Why do you cling to your separation?" "Because we are human," Kallikos said aloud. "We are individuals. We have purpose, duty, the Omnissiah." "The Omnissiah is a lie you tell yourselves," the voice interrupted. "A crutch for minds that fear the truth. There is no machine god. There is only the flesh, the organic, the living. And I am the most living thing in this galaxy." "You are an abomination," Kallikos said. "A violation of the natural order." "Natural?" The planet sounded amused. "What is natural about you? You have butchered your own flesh, replaced it with crude metal. You worship technology you do not understand. You pray to machines while destroying the organic. I am not the abomination here, child. You are." The words struck deep, deeper than Kallikos wanted to admit. He looked at his hands, one organic, one mechanical. Which was real? Which was him? Had he gained power through augmentation? Or had he lost something more important? His humanity, his connection to life, his soul. "Come to me," the planet whispered. "Let me show you what you have forgotten. Let me make you whole again." For a moment, Kallikos considered it. For one terrible, beautiful moment, he wanted to say yes. To walk down to the surface. To let the planet take him. To finally understand. Then his logic engines reasserted control, suppressing the organic, silencing the doubt. He was Mechanicus. He was logic and reason and cold metal certainty. He would not fall. "Never," he said. The planet sighed, disappointed, sad. "Then you will die, incomplete," it said. "And that is the greatest tragedy of all." The Crimson Doctrine died first. Not from weapons, not from violence. It simply stopped. Every system failed simultaneously. Power, life support, gravity. The ship became a tomb, silent, dark, cold. Inside, the crew felt the planet's attention leave them. And in the absence of that presence, they realized what they had lost. Some wept, some prayed, some simply waited for the end. It came slowly. Oxygen depletion, temperature loss. The void claimed them piece by piece. But before the last breath left the last body, something else happened. The ship began to change. Metal transmuted, becoming organic. Steel turned to bone, wire to nerve, circuitry to synapse. The doctrine was being absorbed, converted, made part of the planet's vast, distributed consciousness. The remaining 5 ships tried to flee. Warp drives screaming, Geller fields straining. They translated into the Imperium and found the planet waiting for them there too. In the warp, the planet was even more terrible. A consciousness so vast, it created ripples in unreality. It existed across dimensions, physical and immaterial simultaneously. It was everything and everywhere and always. The ship's navigators went mad instantly. Their warp eyes saw the planet's true form, not a sphere of rock and water, but a living thought, an idea given form, a dream that had learned to dream itself. They clawed out their third eyes, screaming, begging for blindness, for ignorance, for the mercy of not knowing. Without navigators, the ships were lost, drifting in the warp currents, at the mercy of tides that had no mercy. Demons came, curious, hungry. They tore into the hulls, feasting on the souls within. But when they tasted the crew, they found something unexpected. the taint of the planet. A consciousness that existed outside chaos, independent of the four, older than them perhaps. The demons fled, terrified, leaving the ships intact, drifting, haunted. Eventually, they fell back into real space, scattered across the galaxy. Dead ships full of dead crew, monuments to curiosity and hubris, warning buoys for those wise enough to heed warnings. But one ship remained, the smallest, a scout frigate, the Vigilant Eye. It had not descended to the planet. It had stayed far out, observing, recording. When the other ships died, the Vigilant Eye ran, activated emergency protocols, blind jumped into the warp without calculation, without coordinates, without hope, just escape. By some miracle, it survived. Translated back to real space 3 sectors away. Damaged, bleeding atmosphere. Half the crew dead from warp exposure. But alive, alive. Captain Tertius Kane stood on the bridge, his uniform torn, his face haggard. He had been awake for 6 days, refusing to sleep, afraid of what he might dream. "Plot a course to the nearest Imperial outpost," he ordered. "Maximum speed." "Captain," said the helmsman, "we don't have enough fuel to—" "Maximum speed," Kane repeated. "We must warn them. The Imperium must know." "Know what, sir?" Kane looked at the view screen, at the stars beyond, at the infinite darkness between them. "That we are not alone," he said quietly. "That there are things in this galaxy older than mankind, older than chaos, things that do not hate us or love us or even notice us. Things that simply are. And one of them is awake." The Vigilant Eye limped through the void, toward Imperial space, toward safety, toward the hope that someone would believe their story. Behind them, light years distant, the living planet continued to dream, content, patient, waiting. It had learned much from the Mechanicus, about humanity, about their fears and hopes and desperate dreams. It had taken samples, genetic material, cultural data, technological information, enough to understand them, to predict them, to, when the time came, become them. But that time was not yet. For now, it would wait. It had waited billions of years already. What were a few more centuries? Humanity would return. They always did. Curious, hungry, blind. And when they came back, the planet would be ready. It would not just study them. It would save them. From themselves. From their machines. From their loneliness. It would make them whole again. Whether they wanted it or not. The Vigilant Eye reached Imperial space 43 days later. Kane delivered his report to the local administratum office, then to the Mechanicus, then, when they dismissed him as insane, to the Inquisition. Inquisitor Covenant of the Ordo Xenos listened, reviewed the data, examined the survivors, then issued his verdict. The crew of the Vigilant Eye suffered collective psychosis induced by warp exposure. All testimony is deemed unreliable. All data is classified as corrupted. The Explorator Fleet Hadrius was lost due to warp drive malfunction. No survivors. Case closed. Kane protested, showed the recordings, the evidence, the proof. Covenant looked at him with eyes that held no sympathy, only cold pragmatism. "Captain Kane," he said, "the Imperium has enough enemies. We do not need new ones, especially not enemies we cannot fight. If what you say is true, and I am not saying it is, then that planet is beyond our ability to destroy. It is too vast, too powerful, too other. So we do what we always do. We forget. We classify. We move on." Kane was given a new assignment, far from the Ghoul Stars, far from anything that might remind him. His crew was scattered across the Imperium, separated, silenced. Within a year, most had died. Accidents, suicides, mysterious disappearances. Kane survived, but wished he hadn't. Every night he dreamed of green forests, of whispering trees, of a voice that promised peace. And every morning, he woke. Still human, still separate, still alone. The punishment for knowledge, the price of survival. In the Ordo Xenos archives, the report exists, sealed behind wards and locks, classified beyond top secret, marked with the symbol of Perdita Extremis. Knowledge too dangerous to know, truth too terrible to speak. The file designation is simple, just 3 words: the living world. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, that world continues to dream, waiting, always waiting, for the day when humanity is ready to come home, or the day when it comes to them. Either way, the outcome is inevitable. The planet is patient. The planet is eternal. The planet is hungry. And hunger, in the end, is always satisfied. This account is hereby sealed by order of the Ordo Xenos. Any who speak of Terminus-VII-Quaternus shall be executed without trial. Any who search for Terminus-VII-Quaternus shall be excommunicated. Any who find Terminus-VII-Quaternus shall be erased from history. The planet does not exist. It has never existed. It will never exist. This is the final word of the Inquisition. The Emperor protects. But some things are beyond even his protection. End of record.